was really something. But since we are working on because of the Lord has called us to do this work, we did it. So we thank God that we finished that one. I would like then, therefore, officially to present our report of the review team, which is a result of the renewal committee. And you know that this work, as we were doing, some people are even saying, is this another renewal? It wasn't another renewal. This was a specific work given to us to look into the structures, the governance structures of the church. And therefore, I'm happy to present this. First of all, I wanted to present my team. The team was constructed in such a way that we have two representatives from the three dioceses, two from each of the dioceses. So we have there Mrs. Uela from the Central Diocese. Can you stand up so they see you? Okay. And then Mr. Matsiva from the Eastern Diocese. And then we have Mrs. Sibanda from Western Diocese. And we have Dean Tsingo from Western Diocese. And we have Reverend Moyo from the Central Diocese. That is our team. And I am, as you have heard, I'm the team leader. According to the mandate given to us, somebody has to come from outside, and they picked me to come. So now when I came here, I now had a village. I come from Mavorobondo. and Reverend Shoko is my son-in-law. You know, he's married there. So I'm very, very happy to be in Zimbabwe. I felt at home and the people of Zimbabwe. Now, I want to present to you this report for you to discuss. I'm sorry that this part should have been dark for you to see the letters. So the more you are in front of me here, you would see the letters a bit better if you move a bit forward. So those who have seats still empty, they can move a bit forward and to see, because I'm using the PowerPoint and there's a lot of light and our letters are white and therefore it is not very visible. I want to first of all to ask you, how many of you have read the report? To point up their hands. Okay, there are a number of them. So in the evaluation terms, I will say 75% have not yet read the report immediately, because we are evaluators, which means what we are going to read here, is basically this report, which is 64 pages. A lot of recommendations are here, which are not going to be here, because in the PowerPoint we have key findings, key recommendation, and so forth. So when you quickly want to clarify a question, you know that details, some of them are here. Then we have another thick one of the same. This is what the people said. 219 pages of what the people said on the church governance and structures. So if you want to, it is very interesting when you read what the people said here. So the work which was done had already been documented very well there. So we started with the inspiration of the Word of God. Behold, I'm about to make something new. And that comes from Isaiah 43 and verse 19. After 13 years of the governance of a three-diocese structure since 2006, the ELCZ decided to review the governance structure, which means they did about 30. First of all, I know that some people start to digest But when you wake up, you ask a friend where we are, just beside you, because we just finished eating. This is very understandable. We are digesting. The purpose of the review is to examine how effective and efficient the ELCT governance is delivering on the mission, and with what impact, what does it have an impact? That is what we are told to do. So, with the 7 people which I have already introduced, I've already said that they all come from 2 from each diocese, and me. Following the terms of reference, the team worked for 45 days. But we also had a break of about 8 days from the 16th to 25th of August. We had a break. And then we visited dioceses, all the dioceses, deaneries, parishes, congregations, institutions, development initiatives, and also organs. And we traveled more than 3,685 kilometers, moving around. You know Zimbabwe, how we look, some of the roads look like, and we were there, doing single driving. And also, I think when we finished it, extra muscles. The purpose, as I said, was to examine how the ELCZ is organized, how it is working, and how effective and efficient it is in delivering on its mission and the impact it had. And then to look at the ELCZ and all its structures from education and health institutions and development initiatives, addressing how they are organized, relate, and operate. What has worked, is working well, and the challenges or inhibitions. We had to do sampling, because you cannot do all the church and ask questions. It is not possible. You only do what is possible to get the gist of what the church should look like. So a sample of 730 respondents from within the church was created, and we were aiming at people volunteering to come and be fill the questionnaires. And the questionnaire, one questionnaire had 37 questions, and so people responded to those questions. 458 respondents took part, which is about 62%, 62.7%. This means of that sample, which we estimated, 458 respondents took part. And not only those who did the questionnaire. There are those who are not doing the questionnaire but responding to other tools like interview questions, etc. So all the people who participated, there are 458. 70 clergy respondents were pastors, which is about 15%. So we had a good participation of pastors. And we also had 157 who were ordinary church members without positions, which is about 34%. The following are the figures of respondents from dioceses. Now, as we traveled around the diocese, there were dioceses which were very active, even in the congregations, organizing clusters for us to come and dispute the questionnaire. But the others, where we went there was nobody. Or where we went there were 2. So when you see the results, it is because you didn't come, although you were invited. So never complain. So Central Diocese, 172 people came. which is about 48. They're almost like 50% of those people who are supposed to be participating in this evaluation. Eastern Diocese, 18.3%. This is where we didn't find any big cooperation there. And then Western Diocese, 110, which is 30.6%. And there are those who did not indicate anything. Because the questionnaire, we have to indicate which diocese you come from. Then, for those who might say maybe the leaders of things and so forth were not there, but they were there. 132 chairs of assemblies, councils, and organs, which is about 28.8%. 25 church leaders, 20 heads of institutions, 48 church employees, community leaders, and coordinators. And we had, in gender form, 171 were female, and 188 were men who responded to the questionnaire. Positions, we have pastors who were 59, diacons were 8, students pastors 3, and we had also chairpersons of assemblies 18, Swapupu 23, Bashandiri. Do you say Bashandiri or Bashandiri? Bashandiri. Bashandiri. There are 18. LLSF 12, youth 9, Sunday school superintendents 8, and committees, you have the open committee there 9, desk there 16, treasurers there were 19, members 157. So you find out our the samples spread out to these categories. Data collection and analysis methods. The interviews were used for the church leaders who had information about the past and the present church governance. And they did a very good job, because almost 100% were there to do this, to help us do that. The interview tool used for the heads of institutions focused on how they managed the institutions and how they were linked functionally to the church governance. The interviews for coordinators and of initiatives were expected to unearth information regarding the sustainability of such initiatives and how they link with the governance of the church. Then, data collection and analysis methods. Interviews with the General Secretariat of the Church revealed data on the issue of church unity and the coordination with dioceses as per the Constitution. The Treasurer and the Chair of the National Finance Board was essential to determine data on financial management of the church, including accountability and transparency. The interviews with employees helped in revealing data about how they see the church governance and their participation in the decision-making. The observation tool helped in understanding the Lutheran identity, liturgy, and worship during Sundays and also in revival events. So we were also in Chegato, not enjoying the revival also, but also seeing how you run a revival in a Lutheran way. By the way, I want to congratulate you. You have a lot of women in the revival. But where are they here now? That's the question we are also evaluated. Very good. The women are the axis of this church. Was also helping us to see the institutions of the church and to see how they are, to see whether they are well innovated or there are certain problems. So that was in the area of observation. It was also possible to collect data and analyze it with an Excel spreadsheet. First, it was done manually. Can you imagine that we collected more than 13,000 responses? And each one's response has to be written an exercise book. Those people did it. They were writing, and they were using pencils, night and day and night, they are writing this. So, collating 359 respondents, and of course, other 500 responses. Then we used all this data from the various tools in the system we call triangulation, that is to combine the responses from here, from the leaders, from there, in order to do the proper collation and analysis. The team was able to easily collect information needed by way of interviews, because it was a face-to-face encounter with a respondent. Here it was clear. The concepts were clear, which were not clear were clarified. But when it came to the use of questionnaire, there were a number of problems because of English language. As we were saying, a few, just one or two or three, sometimes they ask you a question, I don't understand what is a structure. Because when the question was, how do you change the structure? I said, you can just bring another pole and put it there and paint it. So the structure for them was something for building. So we were just explaining, well, that was a very small thing. One of them was asking, what is a diocese? They know their parish, but really a diocese thing, they don't understand. So when you say, write your diocese, they said, which diocese do I come from? So that is just a few of why the questionnaire needed a lot of clarity and us being there. The findings are grouped now in 8 areas. From 1 church to 3 dioceses, reasons for moving from 1 church to 3 dioceses. That is one of the grouping of the findings. The second is from 3 dioceses to more unified governance structure. That means from the 1 church, we move to 3 dioceses. The question is, are we moving to something else? That's all what we are saying in the findings. It is a big question there. Then, improvement in governance and management. That is another grouping of findings and recommendations there. And then we have another grouping of rearrangement of structures and responsibility of the church. Then we have a grouping of enhancing accountability. Then we have sustainability, focus on mission and evangelism and diaconia, church structures and ecumenical and interfaith relations, then church structure and development. This is how the findings and recommendations were given in these 8 areas, okay? These are just our dioceses the way we know them, Western, Eastern, Coastal, and Central. And there is this diagram we drew in order to enable our thinking be focused. This is the same thing which I said, from 1 church to 3 dioceses and to moving to something else. The first part is where you have 3 dioceses, but very weak coordination point, which this is existing structure. We are coordinated very weakly. We are not very strong in coordination of the church to be 1 church. That's what we are saying here. These are like saying, we were mentioning here that this is a place where we have a church of 3 dioceses. A church of 3 dioceses. Now we want 3 dioceses in 1 church. Is it possible to have 3 dioceses in 1 church? That is what the people are asking questions here. But for unity, is this system right now promoting unity? That is what the big question is all about. How it will look like that unity and very stronger together is something for discussion. Unity first, as Christ said. So, one other thing which we said is the governance part. Governance. First, we have to understand ourselves what is governance. What is good governance, especially? The good governance has 8 characteristics. First one is accountability there. A governance which has got accountability is good governance. Transparency. Nothing is hidden. So that people do not go around because there is no transparency. And each with their own stories. And sharing a story which is not really true or half true, things like that. And they are very fascinating, especially in our churches, not even yours. You know what, and that. So, that is transparency. The second is responsiveness. When you are saying, that when a Christian comes to say, something's happening, we want it to be addressed by the governance, the structure of the church. If it is not done, it creates another, and it creates another, and then becomes a crisis. Responsiveness. It has to be clear, you have to respond immediately. Equitable and inclusive. Are we inclusive in our governance? Are the women there? Are the youth there? Are all the groups there? Are the people with disabilities there in numbers? This is inclusiveness. Another thing is effective and efficient. While we do our things, we need to be efficient. Efficient in time management, especially we Africans, you know. When it comes to time management and effectiveness, we are not doing much about it. We say something is going to be done when it happens. Pastor, you say, Pastor, why we have not started the worship? He said, because no, everybody is not here yet. This is what we are saying here also. Effectiveness, efficiency, how we do things to save time, money, and everything. Then follows the rule of law. You are putting yourself your own laws. Constitution. In fact, even here, I think the chair also asked about the quorum and all these kind of things. This is the area of following the law, what you laid out yourself. Policies you were put together. If you said policies are like this, the recruitment policies are like this, you don't bring your uncle now. Because their policies are saying this way. This is what we call the rule of law. What you have put aside and you follow that one. Then participatory. Everybody is participating. You have space to speak. You have space to say something. That is good governance. And then consensus oriented, which means, like when we discuss here, there are people who disagree, and those who will agree, and those who are in the middle. Now, normally in the World Council of Churches where I was working, we use the consensus method. The majority will take their way, but what they do is to say, even those who did not say yes, they stand up and speak out and say, I disagree because 1, 2, 3, 4, and it is written down. Those who are not so sure, it's also written down. Then they say, okay, now we agree, taking into account that some did not say yes or no. So that is consensus. That is good governance now. So testing this one with this evaluation, the ELCZ, did you find that? You see? So those people will say, oh, our church is like this. Oh, no. They have to ask, did we do the 8 characteristics of good governance? Okay? That was our work as a team to measure these things. Now, we found out we wanted to know the vision of the church governance before. The responses of the church leadership recalled the vision of the one church governance structure that was first. Well, they said it was to create a stronger, united, and sustainable institution, both spiritual and financial. By 32%, they say that. And the other one is to spread the knowledge of the Word of God, enhance the growth and expansion of the church, they say by 32%, and to improve administrative and operational activities by 18%. That's the first church, which the one church which said these were actually the things. But however, geographically, they could not meet everybody. They could not see a bishop for many months and so. So they found out the leaders were not close. So that where they could not fail. They could not do things. So there was a need. They one church to 3 dioceses. They were need to change from that one church to 3 dioceses. In order to do what? To now respond to what they found they are not doing. To minimize the gap between leaders and the congregations by 25%, they say that. And then address tribal, political, and social conflicts among deaneries. They said that. This is why we should actually change so we can minimize those things. By 24%, they said. Then to enhance the growth and expansion of the church by 18%. And then to enhance efficiency and administration control. So friends, these are the things we say the church should do. The 3 dioceses should do now. Now we are measuring, did they do it? You see, did the 3 dioceses do that? Structure, the governance of that. The findings show that the reasons were not fully addressed. The 43% of the respondents said the current structure still creates tribalism and division within the church, and it's also expensive to run, hence not sustainable. That's the finding for 3% of the respondents. Second, duplication of many staff positions. That's what they say, 15%. And then poor coordination, administration, and time management is also one of those that are saying is not working properly. So, the findings are saying we should now discuss about improvement in governance and management. The ELCZ governance structure involves the functions of assemblies, councils, boards, and committees at all levels of the church, starting at the congregation level to the church level. That's how the governance is yours, well structured. The evaluation raised questions on inclusiveness and rapid implementation of decision making. Although they are well designed there, this governance structure, the implementation of decision is not rapid enough. Okay? So, the sharing of leadership by the laity and the clergy in leading the assemblies and the councils, respectively, is comparable to none in the rest of the world. You know, how you arrange here that you have now, my brother here is the chair of the assembly. A late person like me. No, not anointed. Not a pastor. And then a council led by anointed person, who is a clergy. This structure is nowhere in the world I've seen. It's only in Zimbabwe. So you should commend yourself. It's a good structure. It's a good governance structure. Say, praise the Lord. Because that is what we need. Other countries are crying, they can't get it. So hold what is good for you. And don't lose it don't do a lot of other things to destroy this system. It's a very good system. Now, the evaluation found, however, apart from something very good, there is something a little bit not very good. Women and youth need to be represented. Heads of institutions should also be here and should also participate in their boards as ex-officials and be also in councils. These are very important people to be there because this is where they are running the issues you want, sustainability issues, all these issues, diaconia issues. They could also be here a little bit. So this is the little thing about we said it is not there. Then decisions should be implemented rapidly. Why are they not implemented rapidly? We shall see. So we want improvement in governance and management. Governance, if you think in terms of examples, there are thin areas between governance and management. But it's very thin. It's like blood and meat and flesh. You cannot have flesh without blood. Nor can you have blood without flesh. They are all relating each other. But if you have flesh and there is hemorrhage of blood, then you are dead. Soon you will be dead. So this is what we are saying. Management is like blood, running the flesh, which is the governance. And the other way around, accommodated in the flesh. So here, there is need to create a mechanism that will follow up and monitor the implementation of policies at the various levels. Implementation of decisions at the congregational and parish levels is done well because these are the levels where people are located and close to their concerns. I attended one of the congregational assembly. You can see the vibrance there. You can see people talking about their finances. You can see people talking about their projects, how they are implemented, what they want to do next. But the way you go up, do you see these things? That's what we are saying. How do we ensure the same vibrance, the same excitement happens from bottom to the level of the church? That's what we are saying here. So, the governance structure is not adequately supported by a well-organized management structure, and hence the need for adjustment. So you have good governance, as I said, but you don't have a management that supports the policies and everything you say. If you have a committee, for instance, without somebody to implement what you say, you will talk and come again the next day and say, bring us the last minutes and bring us the matters arising. Then you read them and then you finish. You go the next meeting, bring us the minutes because there's no management. That's what the evaluation team is saying here. If you don't have manager, because a governor governs, a manager manages, actions, implementation, like that. So if you go to offices of our dioceses, your bishops, they should have a management office, but they don't have, they have a secretary, right? Because the council will maybe implement something, or a committee chair, or a volunteer. When you leave things like this, there will be a problem of how the management structure of your church will be delivering things which are not coordinated and all these kind of things. So, and people start to become very, normally at home you say, you start to be angry for nothing because you just want to be angry because things are not working. So we need a consistent management structure. Somebody you can hold, like my son-in-law from Moborobondo there. You can say, he is the one responsible for this. Why didn't you do this? But if it is a committee, you don't see them. If they are volunteers, oh, you know, they didn't come because they have another problem. That is what we're saying here. Now, the main business is mission, evangelism, and diaconia. That is the main business of the church, friends, brothers and sisters. It is not liturgy, worship, and identities. That is not really the pillar of the church. The pillar of the church is mission and evangelism. Jesus told us to go and do mission. We need to give a structure to that. How effective and how is it efficient to be done, that mission evangelism? Are we leaving to the other churches to do like Pentecostal and others and so forth? We have to do it ours by giving it a good structure. And that's what we are saying here. The main business is mission and evangelism and diaconia. If this is the center, the structure have to be designed to implement it adequately. Then there is when we are discussing this, when we are collecting these ideas, the people said yes. Then we need we are proposing a new structure, how the church should look like. And then they said, we want one bishop, assistant bishop, and 6 deaneries, which are very strong. Why? Because they have made some this is about 66.6% of the respondents who say, they are the people who say. So when we look at the data of this big thing here, you will find why they say so. You know, we only recorded. We didn't say. They are the ones who said. One bishop, others they said some other things. One bishop, assistant bishop, and 6 deans. There are 2 or 3 who said bishop and 3 deans. Archbishop, 3 bishops, and 3 deans. Presiding bishop, 3 bishops, and pastors. So there are others who said these others. But the number 1 was having a church with 1 bishop, assistant bishop, and 6 strong deaneries. Okay, you're going to discuss what this means. Okay, option for 1 bishop management structure. The survey showed those who favored the first module to be 66%. So reasons given for the change of structure, opting for 1 bishop structure by respondents are better administrative, operational, and financial management. 2, better human resource management. We realize that there is also no human resource development in this church. So you find pastors and others are moving, but they are not people responsible for this. So bring unity, equality, consistency, and fair institution of resources, fair distribution of resources. So when they said that that we need a new structure like this, then we said, oh, if that is what they want, let us work out something like a proposal of how it will look like now. If ELCZ will take that structure, well, the way people say, how will it look like? Then it's where we found out that it can have a new governance. This, friends, I want to be very clear. It is not this structure. It is an example, right? Don't go home and say, now we are told that to go now this. No. The question is, it is a proposal. There are many proposals you can make of how to become more unified, more closer, and better management. Okay? This one, if you like that one, you can have a general assembly like what we have here, a church council, but we also have a board of trustees. Because the board of trustees is the owner of all the assets of the church. If a government comes here and asks you who actually owns the property of ELCZ, what will you say? You see, it's not very easy. Are they all registered? No one will answer that question. Things like that. These are the things we are saying here. The board of trustees can also do these things. Then you have executive committee. Executive committee is the functioning body that works in between the meetings of councils. When the councils are not there, these are much closer to the management. And then we have external auditor, an internal auditor who checks the accountability inside. And then we have now, because we was talking about positioning mission and evangelism as a focus of the church, we have the director for mission and evangelism. And then we have a director for planning, finance, and administration. There. So what we are seeing here what we are seeing, if there is a director for planning and evangelism, actually what we are saying here is that this is a commission. Underneath it will be a director of mission and evangelism. This is a commission for mission and evangelism. And below it you have a director for mission and evangelism. The other one is commission for planning, for finance, and for administration. That is a commission. All together, they bring this report to the council. That's how it should have. Or you can think of it. So, under let's say mission evangelism, all these things we are doing now, Swapupu and all these things like Vashandiri and all these youth and SSLF, all these, they fall under mission and evangelism, right? Because they are very dynamic. These are the things they do. Music, you know, there's music there, there's Christian education, there is revival. They are all organized under one system. That is the Lutheran Church of Zimbabwe. So, then we come to the other one, planning. The planning, finance, and administration. You have finance administration there. You have projects and development. You have education and health and what you call here Lutheran investment. That deal with all the community in the church. That and administration. I didn't. You remember? I said it is in. Okay. Then the management itself now. You have the bishop is like the chief executive. Is everything. And then the assistant bishop, he will be also responsible for deans, for pastors. Yeah, that is where we have deans, parish pastors, evangelists. Actually, the evaluation said, bring back the evangelists. How can you become evangelical without an evangelist? That's what they were asking people in there. We want evangelists back to teach what you call the ecumene, and they will revive the Bible schools, because when we went to the Bible schools, they have turned into guest houses. So that's what we are saying. It should go back where it came from, to create the grassroots people who are doing mission in evangelism and assisting pastors and many other things, you know. That's what they are saying. So that line is actually the person responsible is an assistant bishop, who is also overseer for the director for mission and evangelism. So you see, he has got a lot of work there. or she has got a lot of work. Now, then the other one is on the director planning, finance and administration. You have secretary for finance and administration, you have secretary for health, you have secretary for education and schools, and you have education, you know, so many of these projects, project section and so forth, and they have even other coordinators for this area. And that's also where the business, like even the home can be there for what we call the endowment fund. They can also have people, they will be in this area because they'll be accountable for this area. So that is precisely what we are saying here in the area of proposals there. Now, accountability, 73% said the ELCZ is not accountable. That is the people who are saying in the findings. We don't have very good accountable systems. And 27% they said yes, we have. So I have to be showing this. Then enhance accountability. So we had proposals there on how to enhance accountability. It reveals that 64.26%. So the question is, it is therefore recommended the enforcement of ELCZ rules and regulations. This means here, the governance had the rules and regulations, but they are not fully done. Sustainability, also we are talking about to have a strategic plan where sustainability strategies and development goals are clearly spelled out. 75% from institution heads also express the same sentiments that there is no sustainability. And you find 95% of the people who responded said there is no, our church is not sustainable. Okay? The focus on evangelism and diaconia. The findings from the leadership interviews are in favor of focusing on the subject by 70%. And also, the evaluation also raised a fundamental question about the kind of structures that are in place to ensure that mission and evangelism is effectively and efficiently implemented. As for the new structure, it is recommended that there should be a commission of mission and evangelism with a director of mission and evangelism as per the proposed new structure, governance structure there. So the church, now we come to the almost close to the end. The church SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis means strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We found that these also were worked out already by the central church. That is, the church is strong. It is very much well-educated people. It is well-known, the brand also. These are the strengths of the church. And there are so many other opportunities which are there. You will find them in the report. The report, if all of you get from the General Secretary by copy, you find that we have put all of these things there. This is just a very small summary of the report. I'm not doing justice to it actually. The current structure is not fully effective and efficient in delivering mission and evangelism. However, the arrangement of assemblies and councils is commendable. We commend the way it is arranged. The structures are not sustainable and inclusive enough. The three dioceses structure has not responded fully to the reasons for which it was expected to address. It is not accountable and transparent enough. Communication, information sharing, and support for church institutions is weak. There are functional gaps between the central office of the church and the administration of dioceses where it comes to sharing financial, and other reports from the dioceses. The procedures of appraisals are not enforced. This is why I was saying that when you are working also, you have to be appraised. People have to see, are you working? The appraisals are not really to make sure that somebody is sacked from the work. It's actually creating efficiency in the World Council of Churches. I was last time when I came, I was a Deputy Secretary General for the World Council of Churches. We were evaluated, appraised, and I was appraising the one below me, and the other one below the other one, and the one below, and then we have to evaluate the General Secretary. You have that system actually, in the ELCZ. They put appraisals there, but have you ever been evaluated, you pastors? No? Have you ever been appraised? We call these appraisals. So when we went here in the questions to the employees, they said we are not evaluated, we are not being appraised. So that should be a good practice if you want to have efficiency and effectiveness. Conclusion: though mission and evangelism is at the focus of the church, its management is weak. Women and youth are not sufficiently represented in governing bodies. And we have now here recommendations that is changing the current structure to promote church unity by revisiting an improved one, church governance structure, which is inclusive and enhancing oneness. So that is, first of all, the biggest one of the vital and critical recommendation. And then a new church structure should put mission and evangelism at the center with a proper management. And then work out a strategic, sustainable plan covering the whole church and the institutions. Improve communication, coordination between the church and the institutions. Employ church workers who are skilled, efficient, honest, and with a strong faith in God. And you have to pay them very well. So, set guidelines for appraising church employees from the top leadership to the lower levels. This will include the bishop, deans, pastors, evangelists, general secretaries, directors, heads of departments, and all others. Monitor the enforcement of ELCZ rules and regulations. Observe systems of accountability and transparency. Work on church consolidated budget, because you don't have really consolidated budget as far as what we found out. Conduct a real church census to know the number of members and those in diaspora with a view to engage them fully in the sustainability of the church. When I was in Geneva, my pastor still wrote me a letter. You are now, the date so and so, you are now going to remember your day of baptism. At home, we have a celebration of remembering your day of baptism. It is better than birthday. You are physically born, but the best is when you are spiritually born. So we do these as celebrations in the church. And in the calendar in the exercise book of the pastors, our names are there with when we were baptized. So when the time comes, during worship, those who are remembering baptism come forward. They come forward, they get blessing, and you bring a lot of goats and also cows, if you have. Because here, when we went there to one of my bishops down there are a lot of goats and cows, but the church, they don't have anything. We have to bring to the offerings to remember our days of baptism. So, identify, so the issue I'm insisting here is that our pastors should follow up the people in diaspora. All Zimbabweans who are Lutherans there, they must know that they have to raise and support their church. Identify professionals who can participate in the church activity. You have a lot in the where we are saying about the strength of the church. Really, we have a lot of people who have gone to school here. Good experts, engineers, managers with their own companies. How is the church is not supposed to be not sustainable if all these people are there? And that's where we are saying here, they should be identified. From the survey, 67.7% of the responses to the issue of this is the church structures and development, because we are asked to also see that. We discovered that the church and development agree that it is contributing to the development of the country. They agree. The people say the church is contributing. Community leaders recommended that the church should be involved in town councils to participate in environmental activities. They also want to see the bishops with their legaria coming with their Christians into the municipal council, even sharing their strategic plan and also working with the people for environmental betterment. We were told to ask, is the church participating in these community things like that? So that's what they are recommending. The church should also provide pastoral service to new where Lutherans are living without pastors. That's what the community leaders were saying. 85.2% of the respondents were positive that the church structures are also designed to enhance relationship with other churches. This is church structures, ecumenism, and interfaith. Ecumenism, they participate, but there are very little we saw in the evaluation on the church and other faiths. This was a little bit quick. And here in the church and ecumenism, it was very active. ELCZ was very active in the early ages of one church, especially when they participated in the liberation of Zimbabwe. I think they were very, very active. But later on, their involvement in ecumenism went a little bit lower. And even the payment of these contributions to the ecumenical movement. So the church is encouraged to be more ecumenical and engage with other faiths for common interests related to development and advocacy, and to be active in ZCC. The decision by I'm coming to an end, leadership of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Zimbabwe to conduct this evaluation is a bold one and commendable. Not many churches actually do this kind of thing. It has set a tradition for its upcoming young church leadership to regularly assess the work and governance of the church so as to be on track in doing mission and evangelism. So you are even giving now to the next generation the culture of reviewing yourselves to see whether you're moving forward or you are stagnant or what do you do there. Now, we are praying that the discussion that brings this church together in unity will follow what Jesus is saying in John 17:21. I pray that they may be one, just as you and I are one, as you are in me, Father, and I am in you. And may they be in us, so that the world may believe. So in transforming the ELCZ from the current structure to a more unitary one that promotes openness, the world will believe in him, and Zimbabwe will rise and shine. We pray for this. So let the recommendations of this report be taken up for implementation for the health and growth in unity of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Zimbabwe. For the old is gone, a new life has begun. It's Corinthians 2 Corinthians 5:17b. To God, these are thanks for you people and everybody especially first of all to God who enabled the team to do this work smoothly. To ELCZ leadership at all levels, employees and all Christians who provided support, encouragement without forgetting our home. At the ELCZ headquarters, we were there almost becoming our home, where we are graciously hosted. Many thanks to the GS, the General Secretary, his team, who managed logistics. God bless you all. Always be full of joy in the Lord. I humbly submit this report to this assembly, and especially the chair of the assembly. Praise the Lord.